Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha and my sign language interpreter is Franklin Efe. But first, let's take you through some of the headlines. Senate confirms appointment of Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs. Vice President Shettima launches 2023 Great Green Wall Day. Plus, Egypt launches fresh regional summit to mediate between Sudan's warring factions. Now, the House of Representatives has approved President Tinubus' request for the release of the sum of 500 billion naira from the 2022 supplementary appropriations of 819.5 billion naira for the provisions of palliatives to Nigerians to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Pen reports that the leader of the House, Julius Hornberry, led the debate on the floor of the House for the consideration of the President's request. House member applauded President Tinubu for having a listening ear to the plight of Nigerians, but called for judicious implementation of the palliative funds to have a direct impact on the masses. Meanwhile,
it is a credit to the executive that they are responding to the cries and yearnings of the Nigerian people.
We must be very vigilant in course of implementation and execution of the palliative.
Mr. Speaker, this money we are talking about, we have about 185 billion plus that is going to Ministry of Works and Housing to alleviate the impact of the severe flooding experienced in the country in 2022 on road infrastructure across the 6 geopolitical zones.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has received a fresh request from the President seeking approval for additional loan facility of $800 million from the World Bank for the National Social Safety Net Program. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Major General Christopher Musa as Chief of Defense Staff, in line with the request of President Tinubu. Also confirmed are Major General Taoreed Lagbaja, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, and Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar as service chiefs for the Army, Navy, and Air Force in that order. The confirmation followed a 3-hour screening held behind closed doors. They had earlier on arrival briefed the Senate on their career progressions and pledged to meet national expectations of ensuring security and defending the nation's territorial integrity when confirmed. The Senate granted speedy approval to the federal government to secure a $100 million loan facility from the World Bank to fund social safety net program to assist vulnerable Nigerians with cash grants.
Of meeting basic needs. You may further wish to note that under the conditional cash transfer window of the program, the federal government of Nigeria will transfer the sum of 8,000 naira per month to 12 million poor and low-income households for a period of 6 months.
The Senate also gave accelerated passage to President Tinubu's request to amend the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act by extracting 500 billion naira out of the 819 billion naira for the provision of palliatives to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal. And Bola Tinubu has assured women in the country that his administration is committed to ensuring that Nigeria is retrieved from the vested interests that have stifled her development. In a release, the president also assured the women that issues of security, healthcare system and industrialization would be top on priorities of his administration. President Tinubu spoke on Thursday at the State House when he received in audience the All Progressives Congress women leaders in the 36 states and Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, led by the APC National Women Leader, Dr. Betta Edu. With his renewed role as ECOWAS chairman, President Tinubu told the visiting women that though his emergence would place on him additional responsibility, it would spur him to work even harder. The federal government is to take advantage of leading the Pan-African Agency for the Great Green Wall towards implementation of the project direction before the expiration of his tenure in December 2023. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this at the launch of the 2023 Great Green Wall Day held at the Presidential Villa. A State House correspondent Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila now reports.
Our temperatures are becoming extreme. Our rivers are drying up. Our wildlife has become endangered. And our forests are thinning out. We are not only at the mercy of a world with inadequate green landscapes, but we are also forced to migrate towards greener pastures, literally. This frightening reality is why we are gathered here today. This is what has inspired the Great Green Wall project.
Vice President Kashim Shettima restating government's commitment in complementing the existing techniques, strategies and approaches to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the Great Green Wall afforestation and reforestation program.
I appeal to all of us to see this initiative as an emergency rescue operation. We inherited a dream that we can't afford to relegate because doing so isn't even an option. Our predecessors were aware of the danger ahead, and the burden is upon us now to pursue this mission as a life-saving mission.
The completion of the project was a promise made by the Tinubu administration in the campaign manifesto to guarantee food security and prevent climate-induced migration.
I wish to inform this gathering that we are strongly committed to ensuring that the mandate for which the National Agency for Great Green Wall was established by the federal government are pursued vigorously within the framework of the available resources to meet nationally determined contribution and reduction of greenhouse emission.
The program has also provided job opportunities for young people and women in rural communities towards improving their economic conditions. From the State House, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
And meanwhile, the Great Green Wall by 2030 is aimed at restoring 100 million hectares of degraded land, isolating 250 million tons of carbon, and creating 10 million jobs in rural areas. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports that Nigeria, for the first time since the establishment of a national agency, celebrates Great Green Day with the planting of trees at the Presidential Villa.
Land degradation continues to threaten the livelihoods of millions of people in the drylands of Africa. How to mitigate this effect of climate change resulted in the creation of the African-led movement's Great Green Wall. It is geared towards growing an 8,000-kilometer natural wonder of the world across the entire width of the continent. Established in 2015, the National Agency for the Great Green Wall has been transforming Nigerian drylands through afforestation, reforestation, provision of alternative sources of cooking and energy use.
And so the impact of emerging climate change cuts across, whether you're in Borno, Sokoto, or Rivers or Bayelsa. It has one way, the climate change and its effect.
The department is also helping the states to establish forest plantations as well as maintain them and provide provision of alternative livelihood to communities.
The tree serves as a sink, carbon sink. We also see the tree serving as protecting an area like a windshield, preventing that kind of effect of harsh effects of the climate in an area.
In terms of land degradation, drought.
Abdul Hamid Tahir Amin is the president, African Union Youth Commission for Great Green Wall Youth Advisory Board. He told me they have been supporting the agency in the frontline states of Borno, Yobe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Bauchi, Gombe, and Adamawa.
The Youth Volunteer Program, which was established just recent by the National Agency for Great Green Wall, which with intending to involve 11,000 young people from the 11 frontline states of.
Trees were planted at the banquet hall lawn of the presidential villa to commemorate the day. This symbolic tree planting to encourage Nigerians to embrace afforestation was replicated by state governors and top government functionaries in the 11 frontline states. Adebola, Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
Now, Deputy Political Economic Chiefs of the United States Consulate General, in a bid to combat wildlife crime and boost its contributions to the country's gross domestic product, is in Abuja to interface with the national park authorities and also ascertain areas to deepen ties. There are about 1,129 forest reserves spread across Nigeria, yielding a combined gross domestic product of 8% annually. It has generated 70 million naira from January to date in revenue. However, there is one problem. 0.14% of the 247 mammals and 123 reptiles are threatened, while 0.22% are endangered. This is preventing Nigeria's national parks from realizing its full potential. One of the reasons why Deputy Political and Economic Chief of the United States Consulate General residing in Lagos is at the Abuja National Park is to see what tools, technical assistance and capacity building it can offer to conserve Nigeria's biodiversity space.
We are a partner in combating wildlife crime. So the fact that we're here is a testament to our continued desire to remain engaged, to deepen and increase our collaboration.
The visit is a very big opportunity for us who can collaborate with them to ensure that the national park system survives, and by extension, the environment survives, climate change is challenged, and mitigation provided.
Aside the 7 national parks, Nigeria has 10 more which the authorities says were established by the immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari. And now still on climate issues, a conference on the state of climate reports for Africa has opened. The 3-day conference started with a strong call for Africa to adopt smart technologies to tackle what speakers described as the looming climate change threat to the continent.
Climate Report in Africa provides details of extreme weather and climate change impacts in the entire region. It gives information on climate indicators, including temperatures, ocean heat and acidification, sea level rise and glaciers, as well as on extreme events like tropical cyclones, heat waves, droughts, heavy precipitation and cold waves. The report also highlights the impact of the changing climate on agriculture and food security, migration and displacement, socio-economic development, the environment and ecosystem services. Climate scientists strongly believe reviewing the annual State of Climate report will help them get the appropriate impetus to address climate change in sub-Saharan Africa.
The intention of this report is to provide information on climate to the policymakers and also to those who use this information in discussing or negotiating these situations in Africa to the wider world, particularly the Africa Group of Negotiators.
The Director General of the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Mr. Eric Isuman, assured that the agency is on the beat to improve on climate services.
We are beginning to get more automatic equipment in the system that reduces the human errors in terms of collecting the data and also give us timely data to be analyzed, because self-recording and then automatically transmitted. And so if you pull all these things together with the trained meteorologists that we have, it is helping us to improve our forecast and accuracy level.
Mr. Isaac Amo is the board chair for the Ghana Meteorological Agency.
Whilst we are suffering from tidal waves, our other African neighboring countries who are in the Sahel regions are experiencing drought, which is increasing the acreage of the desertification. I hope and believe that by the end of this 3-day workshop, these experts will share knowledge, share experience, and devise strategies that will go to inure the benefit of the African continent and the countries therein.
The global climate outlook is rather gloomy and even more urgent for the African continent. Recommendations made at the end of the workshop will be presented to President Akufo-Addo through the sector ministry for immediate action to be taken.
You're still watching the news on NTA International, but we'll take a quick break now. Please stay with us for more reports. Now, Global Initiative for Peace, Love and Care, a non-governmental organization, has given a check of 100 million naira to less privileged Nigerians to tackle various life-threatening health challenges. Francis Udojo, who covered the event in Abuja, reports that 15 persons benefited from the gesture.
The flood of June 23, 2023, which ravaged Trademore Estate in Lugbe axis of the Federal Capital Territory, grabbed national attention for the huge tolls it took on properties after claiming one life. Out of the 2,000 homes located within the estate, not less than 57 were severely affected. The cry of the victims for relief has however caught the attention of Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubus, who is using the platform of her pet project, Renewed Hope Initiative, to reach out to them with palliatives. Her love, empathy, and message of hope to the flood victims was conveyed by wife of the Vice President, Nana Kashim Shettima, who handed cash gifts to them under the auspices of the Renewed Hope Initiative. While urging the victims to remain strong in the face of adversity, the First Lady also appealed to them to retain their trust in the current administration as it works to set the nation on the path of recovery.
We all know that flood is a natural disaster, and I want to seize this opportunity that we should not allow the flood to flow away our trust and confidence. We should keep hope alive.
With its interventionist agenda, the Renewed Hope Initiative, as a national program, will complement efforts of government at all levels in the area of providing welfare and empowerment for the needy.
That's something that she's used to eat, and I believe the 250,000 naira, it will go a long way for them to just to improve their livelihoods.
Applauding the First Lady and her initiative for bringing government and relief close to the flood victims, Chairman of Trademore Estate Lugbe said the gesture had rekindled hope for affected residents.
At last, help is on the way. At last, government is ready to do something about this. Because as far as we are concerned, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President visited us today. Yes. That's what we're taking home. And we know and believe in this government that they will do what they say they will do.
Before departing, wife of the Vice President was also conducted on a short tour of affected parts of the estate. From Trademore Estate Lugbe, Adeni Itaiwo, NTA News.
We apologize for that mixed up. That was the presentation of checks by the wife of the Vice President to victims of Trademore Estate that was affected by the last flood. The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory sitting in Abuja has ordered the Department of State Services to either charge the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to court or release him on bail. The presiding judge, Justice Hamza Muazu, gave the order while delivering a ruling on the fundamental human rights suit instituted against the DSS and other defendants by Emefiele. The court equally held that Godwin Emefiele should be granted administrative bail if the DSS fails to charge him before the court of competent jurisdiction within 7 days. Justice Muazu also held that the DSS has the power to carry out its constitutional duties of making arrests, detaining and ensuring the prevention of internal crime. But these duties must be carried out within the ambit of the law. At the Federal High Court in Abuja, division has dismissed a fundamental rights enforcement suit filed by the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, against the Department of the State Services. Justice James Omotosho, in a judgment, held that Kanu's suit lacked merit and ought to be dismissed. In the suit, the IPOC leader alleged that the DSS subjected him to different inhuman treatments while in their facility or any time he appeared in court for his trial, as well as breaching his right to liberty by torturing him. However, the presiding judge, Justice Omotosho, held that the right to human dignity is contained in Section 34 of the 1999 Constitution, but that Nnamdi Kanu could not substantiate with evidence his claim of being tortured in DSS custody. Neither can he claim rights not in the Constitution. With the plaintiff's lack of evidence to support his claims, Justice James Omotosho consequently dismissed the case for lacking merit. And now to other matters. Director General National Emergency Management Agency NEMA, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, says the agency will continue to strengthen collaboration with the World Food Programme for effective intervention to uplift the living standard of vulnerable Nigerians. The NEMA boss stated this when he received representatives and directors of the World Food Programme in charge of Nigeria and Cameroon on the court's visit. Eliasu Ali Yakubu now reports.
The National Emergency Management Agency NEMA in 2009 signed a memorandum of understanding with the World Food Programme, which centered on rapid food security assessment training in humanitarian and logistics management in emergency situations, emergency preparedness workshop, telecommunications assessment mission, and emergency preparedness, federal and state capacity assessment mission. The DG NEMA expressed satisfaction with the positive impact resulted in this long year of partnership.
NEMA is fully committed to sustaining our communication channel and to promote cooperation with the WFP to enhance relief assistance to persons in need under emergency situations, especially in the very critical areas of food and nutrition.
Earlier, the World Food Programme Country Director, Nigeria, David Stevenson, commended NEMA for making its program succeed in all its ramifications. He said this partnership will continue to blossom to the benefit of vulnerable Nigerians and Cameroonians.
So for a number of reasons, Nigeria has been singled out globally to have some high-level sessions there.
The idea for us is really to look at engaging, having more synergies in terms of just monitoring the border, in harmonizing also the support that we give.
The World Food Programme is a UN humanitarian program aimed at providing succor to vulnerable persons affected by disasters across the world. In Abuja, Eliasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
Now, Britain has set out pay rises of at least 6% for millions of public sector staff, including teachers and some healthcare workers. Obiageli Ogwoke reports that this follows the acceptance of the recommendations of the independent peer review bodies. Communication and Strategy, Dele Alake called Professor Wole Soyinka a brother and comrade in the struggle for the restoration and entrenchment of democracy and good governance in Nigeria. I commended him for his immense contributions to the country's development. He said, "Today, I celebrate Nobel laureate, elder statesman, and pro-democracy activist Professor Wole Soyinka on his attainment of 89. Renowned playwright, poet, novelist Professor Wole Soyinka has done a lot for Nigeria." Unquote. And up next is the weather report. Thank you very much for watching. That's all we have for you tonight on the news. I am Charles Alpha, and my sign language interpreter has been Franklin Efe. Thanks for watching.